Hi, Cristina.
Hello, hi.
Let's start with introduction. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tsarina, and I'm the owner of Tsarina Translations and Language School. And Cristina, who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do?
I come from Romania, from Bucharest, and I came here in the Netherlands because I met a nice Dutchman on my holiday in India, and we ended up getting married. So I emigrated here and established myself here in the Netherlands.
And how do you fit in the new country and culture?
Well, I've been here quite a long time, so I had a long time to integrate myself. So it's fine. I'm fine. It's all right. Now, in the beginning, was a little bit. Of course, there are in the beginning a little bit difficulties to adapt, to adjust, new things, new life. But it's also very exciting to have challenges and new things to learn and yeah, new culture to absorb, to make your own.
And what was your biggest challenge?
Well, it started, there were, well, I cannot say which one was the biggest. It started with learning the Dutch language, which for me, coming from Romania, from Latin speaking people, it was very difficult because it's a very different, the Dutch language. Even if I knew English very well, it still was difficult for me. That was my first challenge. Of course, the second challenge was to find a job. I studied architecture in Romania. My diploma was not recognized here. And so I could not work as an architect. But I worked in other situations, and I managed well.
And what
With
did
the
you do?
Dutch language, sorry, with the Dutch language. I learned it very well in the beginning, so that helped me work in the government. Okay.
Okay. So you had different jobs, and what did you do specifically?
Well, I tried to find jobs in my field. So I worked in how should I call it? I worked in designing. That was also one of my challenges. I came from Romania, where my time when I learned their architecture and when I worked there, in those times they were not digitalized. I didn't work with the computer, so I came here and I had to learn how to draw and design with a specific software for computers. I have done this. So I worked designing buildings, not as an architect, but as a designer, with the computer. And then I worked in the town hall at the Department of Constructing Engineers, managing the building, the real estate of the town hall of the city. And then I worked in the local government, the county government, and that was not in my field. I had a project to manage. Again, I have to learn specific softwares with the computer. Chemical substances. It was something 100% new for me. and I had to start to learn it from zero, and I've done that. And I found it very challenging, very very exciting. I liked it.
Wow, I think you adapted successfully to the new situation and to
Yes,
the new country.
you
Uh,
have to be very flexible, very open, very adaptable. Otherwise, well, I don't know how manage in
yeah,
a new culture,
yeah,
new
great, great.
new society. I came from a communist. I grew up and I was educated in a communist country.
Mhm.
So for me to come here in the West, the differences were multiple. I had to learn banking. I didn't know how. There were not so a lot of things new for me here, which I
Yeah,
had to
which
learn.
one? Yeah, can you tell me about a specific thing you had never done before?
Well, a lot of things, but what I found that makes the life easier here in Netherlands, um, is learning how to ride the bicycle, because it's a bicycle country.
Right.
And I come from Bucharest, Hofstad, big city. I never had to ride the bicycle. You cannot do that there. The traffic is not suited for that. And well, it was not easy for for me to learn how to ride the bicycle, but I've done that also as a new thing, and yeah.
Great, great. I see your willingness to leave your comfort zone and to learn something new. And I hear also excitement about riding the bicycle.
Yeah.
And
I
yeah,
was not so excited. I was very frightened.
oh,
I was scared, but I did it. I'm still a little bit scared, but okay, I ride the bicycle here in the traffic. I never had a driving license, so I had to learn again from zero the traffic rules, everything. And I can ride the bicycle, but in the traffic, I'm a little bit scared.
uh, great, great experience. And describe a situation in which you embraced the Netherlands, the language and people, which was different from the old way of how you did things in your old country.
Well, in my old country, I never had to, for example, to apply for a job. And that's something I had to learn here, new for me. Um, and I have to learn how to present myself, how my curriculum vitae I never had. My first was here. How to do an interview, a job interview, and all these kind of things. For example, as a new one of the new things.
Right. And describe a situation in which you were embarrassed.
Well, as a foreigner here, I cannot say I was embarrassed myself for something that happened to me or something that I done. But I must say, in my experience, it happened. Uh, Now it happens quite regularly, I must say. When I'm in public with the Dutch people in public, it's a different culture, different manners in public, I might say. I'm sorry to say something that it's not very positive, but I have to say also these kind of things. I was, for example, in Paris with a group of Dutch people, the travel agency, And we were in an evening having a nice dinner in a very nice Paris restaurant, full, the restaurant with French people. Well, the entire group was set together to more tables together, so in a compact group. It was a very, how to say, it was a contrast between the way the group of the Dutch people behaved in that particular circumstance and the rest of the people there in the restaurant. I must say the manners of the Dutch people are not the best. And I was embarrassed to be a part of that group there. I was brought up with a different kind of manners in Romania. And that was the nice gestures that happened. The waiters, the French waiters, saw that I was a little bit different than the rest of the group. And at the end of the dinner, when we left, one of the waiters came to me and gave me one flower, one red rose, and smiled and thanked me, actually. And the entire group was surprised and didn't understand why it was not something that had something to do with me. Now, how to say it? It was because maybe I behaved better, maybe, I don't know.
But what did they do? What did the Dutch
Well,
do?
now, the difference between having a meal doesn't matter which one, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, or whatever. And having a lunch at your job, let's say, to your work, workers in a fabric in a factory having lunch at midday, is that in a public place as a restaurant, people come to have a nice time. Mm-hmm. Couples, families. So you try to disturb as little as possible the other people there. So when you have a lunch in a factory, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't much matter what you do. Everybody's there just to eat and to get to the work. You don't talk loud all at once, everybody. You don't make very much noise with the cutlery, with the plates. You don't talk with a mouth full of food. You don't point with a fork in your hand towards. It's a lot of this kind of thing. It's a whole complex of table manners. Mm-hmm. Yes, you treat the people who serve you with a little bit of reverence, a smile. You are nice. You know? They are paid to do this job, but they are not paid by you. And even if they would be paid by you, you would still need to be nice to the people who serve you. Not don't take for granted. And okay, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I understand you, Cristina. Thank you for sharing. Describe a time when you felt stressed or overwhelmed.
Well, yes, there were times when I had to do a lot of things at once, and actually more things than it is healthy for a healthy lifestyle. But I had to do them. For example, I found this job that was not in an architecture bureau where I wanted to work because it would have been the best suited for me, but it was still a designing, building designing, it was an engineering, constructing. That I had to learn another specific software. It was not my profession. I'm not a constructor engineer, but I had to learn that for that job also. And this job was not in my town where I live. That is also something typical, maybe Dutch, maybe West Europe, the commuting. majority of the people are not working in the same town or in the same place where they are living, and they commute a lot. Commuting is very common by train. So that means time spent traveling on trains and on buses, and a lot of. So I found this job in a town quite far from where I live, and I had to commute, I don't know, 4 hours, 5 hours a day. And I had to work. I had a full-time job, 5 days a week. And besides that, I went to study because I had to study something. I had always to study something here in this country for me as an architect here. And this were evening courses, and these evening courses were in another town, even further than the town where I worked. So I had to commute from my home very early in the morning with the first train, 6 o'clock train, to my job. I had to be at 8 o'clock at my job. Then at 5 o'clock when I finished, I had to go by train even further, another 1 hour, I think, to the evening classes, and be there and finish 9 o'clock in the evening, and then travel all the way back 4 hours and really run for the last train to get home at midnight. And my alarm was set for 4:45 in the morning. So I didn't even have time to sleep enough hours at night, and didn't have time to do anything during the 5 days of the week. And then I had to learn for the exams for this course in the train, because I was spending almost all my free time in the train. And again, I come back to the manners in public of the Dutch people. It's impossible to learn on the train, because again, in the train, it's a different between being in a cafe with your friends and having fun and talking and singing, I don't know what, or in a train where again, you cannot talk loud and make noise and disturb people. So it was very difficult. It was a period in my life I was really stressed and overwhelmed. But okay.
Yeah, what a busy life, Cristina, but you did it
It
well.
didn't last long, because after a while I said I cannot, this job, it's not worth so many hours of commuting and this kind of life. So that's why I said, I made a choice. I prefer to work in my town at the town hall. It's 5 minutes from my house walking. Even if I am not designing in my profession, but still some connection with buildings, but more administrative work, which was also something new for me. I had to learn. And in the government, also here in my town, to 10 minutes, 15 minutes walk, and I made this choice. Well, choices.
Yeah, okay, it's interesting. I recall a time when you felt disconnected with people and culture.
Well, I don't know. It's again this kind of situation where I think they don't behave how they should, and I am bothered and embarrassed. Otherwise, no. I'm quite adaptable, and I manage to make myself fit in.
Yeah, so you are willing to try something new, and this is very good. And you take the necessary steps to ensure that you become successful. So very nice.
Well, more or less, but you also have to learn how to accept the situation, how it is, and to make the best of it.
Yes.
You cannot of course, you have to try to do your best to achieve what you really want. But if it's not possible, you have to accept and to be satisfied, to live happily, not frustrated and yeah, okay, I wanted this, but I cannot have this, and I have this, but this is not what I wanted. But well, this kind.
Yeah, good point. And what's the biggest misconception the natives have about you?
Well, the natives in general, I don't know, because I didn't talk to them. So even if I talk to them, they would not tell me. Well, maybe they told me, but in my job interviews, and not only where I studied also, so in these areas, I noticed they had this misconception that the people coming from the former communist countries, that their education and job skills are not as good as the Dutch people. Well, I of course didn't know myself the standards of the education of the Dutch people and their skills. But I came in contact trying to study, to look for courses to bridge the differences and to be able to work here in my field better than I did. And so I was surprised to see that actually what they build in my field, in architecture, what they study here for becoming architects, they study 5 years. It's much less than we had to study in Bucharest, in Romania. We had to study 6 years or 7 years, and much broader, much more, simply put, much more. So the education is much better quality in the former communist countries than it is here. It's a fact. It's not my opinion, because it's on paper. It can be verified. It's not a debatable thing. And yet, yeah, it's this because they don't know. Then they think, okay, the communist countries are a little bit behind, and yes, they are, but not. They were maybe economically, maybe technologically, but not as education.
Right. Yeah.
So people were very better prepared, doctors, for example. Everybody. They didn't have in the hospital the money, the medicines, the technology, the facilities, everything, but they knew how to manage with what they had very well, and very, very good they were.
Yeah.
I don't know now, but well.
Yeah, I understand.
I grew up in another era.
Yeah, right. You're right, I think. Tell me about the time when you were communicating with the Dutch and they didn't understand you. And what did you do?
Well, I came here, I went to the school to learn Dutch, and I learned it. It took me a long time, 2 years, but I did it. But in that period, every time I was trying to speak Dutch, I went shopping. I didn't have a job then. They heard my accent, and that's something they do, the Dutch people. If they hear, they can hear immediately that your accent, it's not Dutch, you are not Dutch, you are foreigner. And you try say something in Dutch, and they answer you in English automatically. And I was married. I came here because I married a Dutchman, but he also didn't want to speak Dutch with me at all. So I spoke English with him. I spoke Romanian with my daughter. I came here with my daughter. And everywhere I went in town to have a coffee, do some shopping or something, they were answering me in English. So it was never a problem that I was not understood. I had this problem. I didn't have this problem.
I understand. Yeah, it's a pity that you could not speak enough Dutch and that the people are answering in English simply because they think that you are not speaking good Dutch, and then they do not, yeah, do
Well,
not
I
take
think
time.
they were nice. They were they thinking, okay, this is not a Dutch person. Dutch is not her
Mhm. Yeah.
native language. She has a difficulty with the Dutch, so it's easier for her English. So
Yeah,
that's why they wanted to
yeah,
make
it's
it
a
easier
nice.
for me to help me. Well, not my husband, but okay. So
Yeah, I understand. And do you ever feel judged?
no, I cannot say I felt judged. No.
No.
Just
That's
not. Well, little misconceptions, but that it's not so bad. I used to have a very long hair when I came here, and for quite a few years after I came here, and that it's not something you see here very much. I had my hair very, very long and nice and okay. Now there were people who were ladies, I might say, quite a bit older ladies,
Mhm.
and maybe they thought they could clearly see I'm not Dutch. I don't look Dutch.
Mhm.
So maybe they thought I cannot understand Dutch. I don't know the language. So they were talking about me, not very complimentary, and laughing, actually, making fun of me in Dutch. And I could understand and I could hear very well because they were next to me too.
Mhm.
And okay, so all kinds of these little, mm, not so important,
Okay. Yeah, I
but
understand. Yeah. Mhm.
uh, you have to take them. They come with a package with a new.
Exactly.
Yeah, people are different. Each
Yeah.
one with his own prejudices, and okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, you have to adjust to the situation and align with other people. It's correct sometimes. And tell me about one of your favorite experiences in the Netherlands.
Oh, yeah, I thought about this and I cannot recall. Just let me just have a quick look. Maybe I wrote
Yeah.
something. Well, I don't know now. I'm going to say what it comes in my head now.
Mhm.
What I admire here in the Netherlands, and I think this is would be a good example for other nations. Well, I come from a Latin people. Now, Latin people like Italians, like Spanish, like, well, they are a little bit, how to say, not so strict with the timing, with the being on time, the appointments. They are a little bit different. Well, the Dutch, probably also Germans, also, they are very strict with the timing, with the being punctual, being uh, on time. And
Mhm.
I can recall when I had courses for citizenship. I have to had a course in which I had to learn about what's new and how to integrate myself here. It was a man, a nice man, a teacher, who, who gave me an example because I was in the beginning still not taking it very seriously here. Okay, well, let's not exaggerate at the minute to be at a minute. And he told me, I'll give you an example. If I would be madly in love with you, and if we would have talked to meet at a certain place at a certain time, and I would be there on time or a few minutes earlier and wait for you. But if you would not be there 5 minutes after the time, I would leave. And I would not wait for you longer, and I would be really upset, and I don't know if I would make another meeting with you. So that was the example of a man who would say, suppose I was madly in love with you. And I was so shocked, and I said, well, okay, now, if you are madly in love with me, you don't even wait for me 5 minutes. Well, this is a good example. The Dutch are very strict with the timing. They take it personally as a lack of respect if you are not there on time. And if you are a few minutes too late, it's bad. It's serious. It's not something.
Yeah.
And okay, this is maybe a little bit exaggerated, but now I'm so many years here, and I try to adapt to this. And when I go back to my country, to my town, I'm not used anymore with that way of taking. I get irritated if somebody is a little bit late. I surprise myself reacting like the Dutch when I am. And I'm thinking, I'm there in Romania, I'm thinking, yeah, they should take this example for the Dutch. It's good for everybody to be a little bit more like this. And it's not only that, it's also the seriousness at work, the work ethic. They have a good work ethic, and they are very serious in business. You can count something which also other nations, not all of them maybe, but there are some that could take this good example from the Dutch.
Yeah, interesting. And do you make friends here in the Netherlands? And who are your friends?
Well, friends, I must say, I didn't succeed in making friends, Dutch friends. I don't know, because I'm sociable, I'm open, my Dutch language is good enough, and I make easily contact. I come again, Latin speaking nations, they are easier in the contacting each other everywhere. In public, go have a coffee, speak to the people in the train, everywhere. The friends I made here, strangely enough, they are not Dutch. My best friend here is a German lady, also married with a Dutchman, and here she is older than me. So she lived since she was very young, student. She lived here all her life. So she is Dutch nationalized, just like me, but she is still German. For her, it was easier than for me to learn the Dutch language. Is very close. The German and Dutch languages are very close to each other. And the others I have, they are Romanians. So I've been to lots of kinds of activities and hobbies to be with people, with Dutch people. For example, dance lessons. And I met a lot of people there. And they are very friendly, and it's a very nice environment, but it's not something to have a friendship. I don't know why. That lasts, something deeper than that. I don't know why. It's been for me, I didn't succeed. I don't know why.
And what part of the character of a Dutch man or Dutch woman appeals to you? What do you like in Dutch people?
Well, that's what I said, the seriousness. So when they say something, it is as they say it, and they keep their word, and you can count. They are very reliable. They take serious not only work but everything in general. They don't, how to say, They talk to the point. They don't talk now. Yes, and they are very they are friendly. They are very sociable, friendly, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And tell me now about something you really miss from your own culture.
Well, that's exactly one thing that I miss. People more open in my country. It's much easier to make friends. In my country, people get closer to each other. Normally speaking, everybody with everybody. For example, I live here in my house for a lot of years now, and I see nobody. Now, how to say it? The neighbors, they are not close to each other as they are in my country. We were with my neighbors like a family. Here, it's not like this. I go to Romania, even if I stay there not long, a couple of weeks, I make a friend. Here, it doesn't succeed. Yeah, it's a different, and also of course the food, the kitchen, yes, it's different. I like it more, the one in Romania. And in that area, not only Romania, it's almost the same in Bulgaria, in Greece, it's the same. Turkish food.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I miss the sun. I miss the climate, the sun, the warmth, the sea that is warm, that you can go into the sea for 6 months a year. It's always sunny, and I miss the snow, the climate, the snow, the Christmas, the winter, I miss the mountains. I used to go in the winter in the mountains and ski, and in the summer at the Black Sea, and it's warm. And the seasons in Bucharest, the summer, it's too hot. Actually, I feel better here but but for the rest, you can really feel when it's winter. It's really winter with freezing, with the snow. With when it's summer, it's really hot. It's too hot maybe, but then I go to the sea and it's just nice. In spring and autumn, you feel the seasons here. They are not so different. The seasons, it's not so hot in the winter. It's not so. I mean, it's not so cold in the winter, and it's not snowing. It's not so hot in the summer, and in between, it's almost like spring, like autumn, little bit colder autumn. Autumn is in the winter, and a little bit warmer spring is in summer.
And would you consider to going back ever?
Well, actually, I don't know. It's a difficult question because in Romania, my parents are not anymore. I don't have family left there, only a cousin at my age, that's all. And here I have my family that I have now. It's my daughter. She is married to a Dutchman. She has child. So my only family that I have now, it's here. So I would love it to go and live there. I feel better there, actually. But my family is here. So I don't know. Maybe I shall be half of the year here, half of the year there. Depends how my financial situation will be. I have to retire to get see first how it is when I get retired.
Yeah, right. And describe a time when you applied for a job and how did it go?
Well, it was for me very difficult in the beginning because it was totally new for me. I had a sort of training for this, and then I went to apply for a job. I went for an interview, and I had to think all the rules that I learned how to, and it was very funny. It was actually I remember my very first interview in my life. I had by the training learn how to dress, how to have my hair, the makeup, how to present, how to sit, how to talk, how to everything, a million rules. So I applied for a job that was a very easy job that everybody can do, just to go, because it was in the beginning. I had to start somewhere. I thought, okay, until I find what I want, I have to take what I can take now. It was in a big shop. I had to take the clothes that come by truck and to unpack them and fold them and put them nicely on shelves in the shop. That everybody can do this. So it didn't matter. It didn't really need the curriculum vitae or very difficult questions or to prove that this is the job for you and your dream to come true. And why are you the best for this job and this kind of things. So normally speaking, it should have been the easiest interview of all. And so I dressed myself in a nice suit, business, nice hair, everything. And the interview was in a cafe. That seemed strange to me, that in a cafe, okay. And I go there, and there were two young men at a table in the cafe. Very casual dressed, everything was very casual. They were having coffee, I don't know what. And they were talking as if we were meeting in a cafe to have a coffee and a chat. I don't know what. It was nothing from what I learned in my training. And they found it, I think, a little bit amusing that I came so formally dressed. It's a difference between formal and informal. I was formal coming to my first job interview, and they could not be more informal than they were. And they started asking me nothing that I learned in the training, but logical questions. They saw my curriculum vitae and they said, well, why are you applying for this kind of job? And I had to tell them, well, because I cannot get what I want now. I have to do something now, and this I can do. Everybody can do this, and I want to do it. And they wouldn't let me go. 1.5 hours I had to sit there with these two and to ask me about other things, all kinds of things, just to chat, to know me, that in the end, that nothing to do with the job. I didn't even get the job in the end.
Oh, why?
So, I don't know. They said I should really look for something for me and not that. And I said, yes, but I want to do something now. No, we were in a group with a training by this kind of training for this job interview in a group, and we applied two, me and another lady, for this job, and they took the other lady, but she was coming from Bangladesh. She didn't have a lot of education. She had been a housewife her own whole life. So actually, she could not do much more qualified job than this. And I think this is what they thought. Maybe it's better to give this kind of job to somebody who cannot have much more qualified than this, and to let me look for a little bit more qualified jobs. And so this is how it went, my first job interview.
I think you were overqualified.
Yes, much overdressed, overqualified, over everything. And it was a kind of job where you were busy in the back room there, alone, between 6 o'clock in the morning when the truck came with the clothes, and 9 o'clock in the morning when the shop opened. Everything this had to be done before the shop opened. So you were there. You didn't even have to talk. So you didn't have to know Dutch or talk to any boy or English or anything. So it was really very low requirements. And this lady from Bangladesh, she could not speak well Dutch at all. Well, so that
was enough, yeah. And tell me about the toughest decision you had to make in the last 6 months.
Well, in the last 6 months, the only thing that is changed in my life, and probably lots of people's life, is this pandemic, the corona. And because of this, I had a choice to make. Well, I'm not 100% very healthy. So I was really afraid of this virus, and I didn't feel very protected without a vaccine. And I had to wait a long time here to get a vaccine, and not the one I wanted. I didn't feel very much protected by the one I should have had here. And in Romania, I could have had it on immediately, and I could choose which one I wanted. So I wanted to go there and have my vaccine as quickly as possible, as early as possible, and not wait here for many months to get it. But I was very much afraid for the travel, for my exposure to the other people. I had to travel by 2 trains. I had to be in train stations. I had to be in airports. I had to be in an airplane, another airport there, and the taxi. I don't know what. I was very afraid of this. That was a difficult choice I had to make for my health now. In the last 6 months. In the last 6 months, that's the only thing new in my life.
And what was the toughest decision in your life here in the Netherlands?
Well, there were a few. In the beginning, when I realized that maybe I shall not be able to have a job and to work as an architect here, that was tough for me. And I thought, well, if I go back to Romania, I had to weigh a lot of things. Also, how would it be for my daughter if I stay here? How would it be for my daughter if I move back? But the problem is in Romania, meanwhile, everything so much changed. It's not anymore. I work there as an architect, but this changed when it was not more, it was not a communist country anymore. Where I worked didn't exist anymore. And I thought, well, if I go back, that is what chances I have to get there a better job than here. So that was a difficult decision. And then I was married here, and because I was not having a very important job yet, but my husband got a job at the town hall in a very little town where I live here. It was the decision I had to make. to follow him and to come and to live in a very little town here where I knew that I have no chance, very little chance to find a good job for me. For me was not
which town was it?
Middelburg.
Middelburg. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there were a couple of decisions, and well, it ended up as it ended up. For me, it would have been better to live. I think I would have had more chance to find a better job for me in a bigger town, in Amsterdam or Rotterdam. But okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I understand. And what's the biggest goal you have achieved here?
Well, it's not one in particular, but it's everything I've done here to be as I am here now. Beginning with learning the language, and I don't know. Actually, when I learned how to ride the bicycle, yes, for people it's very easy. It's nothing. But when I got a little certificate, because I was so afraid, for me it was difficult to learn to ride the bicycle. I thought, my God, I learned so much all my life. I have a diploma as an architect. But this little certificate for riding the bicycle, for me, it's more valuable. For me, it was more difficult to ride the bicycle than to study 6 years as architecture in Romania, with all the exams and everything. So the language, I don't know, riding the bicycle, don't know, adapting myself to learning all the things and adapting myself to all the things. Yes, and again, accepting the way I manage what I could do here and my position here and everything, and be happy with it. Being happy and satisfied that, okay, I've done it. I've done everything I could do, I had to do, and I am now as I am now, and it's fine. It's okay.
Very good attitude, Cristina. And what is your vision for future?
Well, again, to work or aim for a career, it's not anymore a goal for me now. So I have to think now. First of all, for me now the most important thing is to get back to a healthier place. To get healthier than I am now, because with the corona I put on a lot of kilos, and that are not good, not healthy, and it's difficult when everything is closed, like the gyms, and I could not have dancing, physical exercise I missed, and this is why I put on so much weight. And I do so the health, and then of course enjoying my family, helping my daughter with taking care of my granddaughter, and see how life would be better for me if I have to move from this little town closer to my daughter, or I don't know, live half of the time in Romania, in Bucharest. So still managing my life, how is the best, thinking of the choices I have to make and the decisions. And I like it that way. I would not like to have everything settled, everything, and for the rest of my life nothing to choose, no challenges, no difficult choices, no nothing. Yeah, it keeps you running in a way.
Yeah, thank you, Cristina, for being so open.
You are welcome. It was a pleasure.
But I want to ask you some question about learning a new language.
Yes.
Because firstly, you need to learn Dutch.
Yes.
And it's not only because of the language, but also because language is a mirror of the human mind and human society, and of course of the culture. So the first question will be why it's so important to learn a new language quickly? What do you think?
Well, if you want to, even if you don't emigrate, even if you go only for work in a new country, it's much better to know the language. Of course, there are some jobs in which you don't really need it, the Dutch language. You can work speaking English, but you still have to live there. And even if everybody is speaking English here, you could live. I find it that it's much better to learn the language. You can adapt, you can integrate, you are better in the country with the language. But I emigrated. I married a Dutchman, so I knew I have to establish myself here. So for me, it was imperative to learn it.
Yeah.
You can learn it if you work. You come only for work, and your English is good, and your job you can have it in your English. Of course, you can live speaking English, no problem, and you can just learn a little bit just to manage a little bit. So you don't have to. But I had to learn it at the university level, the highest level, because normally speaking, I should have had some university courses in architecture to be able to work to have a position as an architect or something like that.
Yeah. And what do you think, what are the 3 things that are most important to you in how to learn a new language?
The 3 things.
Yes.
Well, for me, the most important things are first to be in contact with somebody who is speaking that language, so that you are able to speak that language with somebody, and also to be able to hear that language as much as possible on a daily basis, and to speak that language as often as possible on the daily basis is possible. And then, of course, you have to study really well with books, with rules, with grammar, with and writing it. For the Dutch language, we had 4 exams: listening, writing, speaking. Which was the 4th? No, I don't know now anymore. So all these 4 are very important, and you can learn a language from the books. But if you don't speak it, as I learned French when I was I learned French for 10 years when I was a child. But then I didn't have anybody to speak with. And I didn't have anywhere to hear it. And you forget.
Yeah.
Okay, now if I listen to it, I can understand, but it's difficult for me to speak it. It's a foreign language. If I go in Romania for 7 months, I come back. In the beginning, it's difficult. Even Dutch language, which I know very well, it doesn't come easily. So this is important. They are important. The contact, the speaking, the listening, the reading.
Yeah. And tell me about a time when you have been satisfied or energized and productive at learning. What were you doing?
Well, I have to think about this. I was lucky when I came to Holland. I went to a school to learn Dutch, a school for adults, and it was a very good school. I had a very good teachers, and the system was not the first year. The first year was very bad. I could not. That's why I had to go to the second year, and I had a total different. It was totally different. Was very good with the computer, with everything, and I was busy 5 days a week. 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day, I can't recall. And then I had homework, so I was busy every day. The problem was what I just said before. My husband didn't want to talk Dutch with me, so I could not talk daily basis. But I was very satisfied with that school, Dutch school for Dutch language. Was very intensive and very good, as it should. As I wanted it.
And what's the biggest challenge when it comes to learning a new language?
Well, that is it. If you have no body to talk with, if you don't hear it often, it's difficult. You can learn the rules and from the book, but it doesn't stay with you. It stays in the brain. You have really to produce it to talk.
Yeah. And how would you like to study Dutch?
Dutch?
Yeah.
I don't want to study Dutch anymore.
Or maybe new language. What's the way you think is good?
Well, I would love to have somebody to talk with in that language on a daily, well, not really daily, but okay, so from time to time. And I would love to be able to hear it spoken often and to read texts and books. Well, I have to learn first how to read and everything. But first to hear it and to talk, be able to talk.
Right. And how do you find the right course and a nice teacher if you want to learn a new language?
Well, there are schools to learn languages. They here in Holland, they offer, well, I don't know, when years ago, my sister got married to an Italian man, and I thought, oh, that would be a nice thing to do, to learn Italian. And it's very easily Italian. It's so close to Romanian. It's not a difficult language to learn. Well, in those times, I went to the library, and there were books and with audio cassettes and things. Well, I must say I didn't put the time because I was very busy with in those times with the Dutch language, with household and work and job and everything. Didn't have the time. But nowadays, you can find them online. It's not many more. You cannot find at the library with books and with audio cassettes and things. Everything is online. But I didn't start yet. I have never studied yet anything online. I'm not familiar with this. So I would have to get familiar with this. And then I don't know how it will be. I'm still old school. I'm still with the with the books, with the writing, with the pen, with handwriting, and yeah.
Yeah. And what's the most interesting thing about you that's not mentioned before? Tell me something unique about you.
Well, I wouldn't know that, really. I wouldn't. It's nothing comes into my mind. Who finds himself or herself unique?
Maybe now is your chance to tell something what you didn't mention before. What do you like? Maybe you want to tell something to newcomers. Some advice.
It's a nice country to live in. The people, the Dutch people, they are very good in how to say. The word is household, but I don't mean they are also good in keeping the household. But I mean, in a larger sense, it's the same with the whole country. They take good care of everything in the country in general. Very well taken care of. They are very good. And so everything is very well organized. It's easy to find your way, to find information. It had always been like this because I came here when not everything was digitalized. You could not find everything on internet. It was still on paper, brochures with informations about everything. So there are a lot of rules to learn here if you come, but it's worth it because it makes life easier. It's not so chaotic. How should I say? Now, if I go to Romania, everything seems to me chaotic. Nothing. I get irritated. I get frustrated by, for example, garbage recycling. Here it's very clear, it's easy, everybody knows what goes where. And there they want to do it and they put something, but not clear, nobody knows, literally nobody knows where to put what. So that's just an example of daily example. It is like this with everything. It's difficult to find information there. If you need something, you can look online. Okay. So if they come here, it's very well, if they come to work, it's very well arranged, very clear cut, it's very, or I don't know, just to live, to get married, the Dutch people, and to live here. In the beginning, it's a little bit challenging to learn all the rules and to adapt and things. But then life, it's really well organized and it's easy.
It's a good advice, and thank you for being so open. As to me, I have a passion for languages, as well as my presence and a lot of patience for my students, because being a teacher is helping others to find a clarity, and every single person needs somebody in life who holds their space and help and support them without any judgment. It's a beautiful thing. And actually confidence arriving from consciousness. And some advice can open some doors in difficult cases. So I will help you to move to the space with more clarity. I will share all my experience with you on how to learn a language quickly. So Cristina, if you know somebody struggling with the language, I will be happy to help. And for you, enjoy your journey, go for it. I believe in you and hope you do. So wishing you much more success.
Thank you very much, Sarina. I appreciate everything you do for me. You are really great in teaching the language and helping with everything. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you, Cristina. Bye-bye.
Bye.